Oh, and the Grand Regions, okay. I'm in Michigan. I'm your chapter advocate. Now you got your little gift bag, which some of the gentlemen might not know. We tend to have a lot of fun in our meetings. And so there's some things in there that we like to share, but sometimes the ladies don't want to share the candy, so hopefully everybody got a bag. Everybody can remain seated, but I think we need to take a minute to recognize what happened to the students on the MSU campus. The association provided the green and white ribbons for us. There's far too much happening, and I happen to agree with the sentiments that we don't want to say we're sorry and we want to say it stopped. So just take a minute to remember the students. Thank you. So, I want to recognize our Academy of Friendship matriculants. Are any of these women in the room that are receiving their degree this weekend? Would you stand up? Stand up, girl. Yeah. Congratulations. I think Julie said we had, what, 29 registered? 24 registered, which is really good. Because it's difficult. You women know that have worked hard to get this degree. I also want to introduce past Deputy Grand Regent Donna Breen, who's going to give out some ribbons.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So for first place, we have from Ionia, Tracy Smalley. Is she in the room? Should be.
Oh, I'm sorry. These are for the top sponsors. And Tracy sponsored 7.
You just gave me this job. I didn't know I had to do it. For second, I'm getting yelled at for not doing my job, and I just got it. For second place, for 6 sponsors, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Ionia, Nicole Nummer. Monroe, Karen Meyer. Dearborn Heights, Juanita Bernard. And Ionia, Lisa, is it Lar? And they all had 6.
Okay, Juanita is 91 years old.
Wow.
She's sponsored 6, and she's the secretary for the chapter and a trustee at the lodge.
In third place, signing 5 members each, is Dalton Judy Peterson and Port Huron Tanya Halverson.
This is Wilbur, for those that don't remember and some that never met him. Most of you know Bob and I have got 16 grandchildren. We have a great-granddaughter who's due any day now. And I read to him a lot. And Wilbur is the companion to a book that's called Maybe. And it's about the endless possibilities in all of us. And he has a mentor because Wilbur has a dream. Wilbur thinks that pigs should fly. So right now he doesn't have the rest of his clothing on, He's going to sit here until his mentor helps him achieve that dream. Now, most of us in here are still chapter officers. We're still working at our lodge level because we've had mentors. We need to start noticing people. They clear a table. Take extra steps to notice them and start working on that. I have to tell you, I've got 7 chapters who were distressed, on hold, or about maybe a month ready to close. Each one of them is, every chapter is a success, but these are some of my, it makes today a good day to be here. South Lyon chapter, they were a service chapter, which means they could never earn any awards or honors. And last year they earned the Award of Achievement for the first time. Holly chapter is back in the house. I don't think they actually ever really left, but their building got burned. And they're back doing what they need to do, and the lodge itself too. And these are the kind of successes that we need to recognize. Taylor now has a building, and the Taylor chapter and lodge went, how many years? 7? 8 years without a building. And that chapter, I think every year but what, one?
Every other year.
Made their Award of Achievement without a building. And that testimony is to those women over there. Fenton chapter, I had their incoming officers at my training session. They've turned around their chapter, which has always been outstanding with their community service and what they do, but they are really moving in another direction, and I want to applaud them. Mansalona was on hold on and off for probably 4 years. We have officers, and again, I had them in my training session, and they are doing a great job. So, Spring, are you in the room? Oh, I got Bobby in the back. Thank you, Bobby, for coming here. Grand Blanc is currently on hold, but the reason they're on hold is because the women are officers in the lodge. They felt that they couldn't do both adequately to start, be the officers in a chapter and a lodge. It just made them pretty anxious. And I talked to their administrator yesterday, and they're doing fine. Now, I can leave a chapter on hold so that they can reorganize, they can take a break, they can do like this, get used to being a lodge officer, and then reorganize that chapter. So I've got good input back on that. And this morning, the administrator from St. Louis, Josie, just told me that they're probably going to reactivate as well, because we actually have a general purpose meeting set where we were going to discuss closing them. Now we're going to hold that meeting to discuss having more women coming to meetings. That's what we're about. So, the theme of this was tell me your story. And what I was looking for was how many of you really know the history of your lodge or chapter. A new member, and even a member that keeps coming in that's been a member for years, they probably don't know when your chapter or lodge opened, some of the good things and bad things that it's had to go through, like our lodge burned down, we rebuilt, those type of things, because they want to know what they're getting, the bang for their buck. And if we can tell them, you know, we've gone through a flood, Midland, we've gone through fires, we've gone through everything else that we've had to do, we've maybe had to downsize, reorganize, but here's what we do to reach out to our members, to our communities. Some of you do regular, they saw it yesterday when Gary did his workshop, about community service. That's what they want to see. Then you integrate them into more detail about what goes on with the moose, because we're not getting the moose story out there in the beginning and they're leaving. But if we get out our story, and I don't want you to give them the horror stories. You know, don't tell them about the woman that did the worm dance on the bar. We don't want to know that. That's okay after hours outside the building, but tell them the story about what it was. I had no idea that Grayling was instituted in 1913, which was when the Moose was, you know, reactivated, when their lodges were reactivated. Georgia Beardsley sent me information about Grand Rapids, Sparta, and theirs was 1903, I think she said. Oh, no, the chapter was 1916, but I think she said the lodge was 1903. Was she right on that?
Yeah, we were the first ones in
Yeah.
the state of Michigan.
Right, they were the first ones in the state of Michigan. That's what I would say probably 75% of their members do not know. They don't know. I've got hers, and then I asked for comments about why do you think we're having difficulty and why kind of the wheels came off this trolley here. The number one answer, if we're looking at trivia, was the lack of respect for chapters. And this might make some of our lodge brothers uncomfortable, but it's an opinion that is held almost chapter-wide through the state, that in many instances we don't get recognized for what we do and get respected for that position. It's okay, do fundraisers for us, turn the money over to us, and don't say a word. If that's an attitude that you're seeing, I'm asking everybody, lodge brothers, the chapter members, to work together to stop that. If you don't do it in your own home, please don't bring it into the Moose Lodge. And some say, what difference will my vote make if I do something? Well, how many of you chapter members go to your lodge meetings? Good, because I'll tell you in the beginning, some of them didn't think they could, and I'll tell you, there's only 3 of us that come in Grayling, and we're really working on dragging them in. You're lodge members, you need to be there. You need to support what the lodge is doing. The lodge runs a business, and that's a tough thing to do. You know, we're not the ones that are responsible for the plumbing issues, the electrical bill every month, the food costs, the cost of alcohol. So we need to be there in the lodge to help them, to support, to work on functions, whatever we need to do for that. We've run into an issue. How many of you have the issue where you're hearing, why should I have to pay lodge dues? Okay. And how many of you are still hearing, I paid ahead on my chapter dues, I should not have to pay the lodge dues this year? All right, here's the deal. Jan Fraguglia said, get over it. And that's what you need to do. Why, that woman, why would you feel that you have the rights and privileges to use that facility and not pay the same as any other member? Because remember, Barb McPherson talked about how many women joined lodges. And they'll join the lodge and they probably in some cases won't join the chapter. Those are your fellow female lodge members. Do you think you're better than them just because there was confusion about the dues dates and stuff, that should allow you to be in that building and use it? I say no. And if that's going to be what's going to say, I'm not going to renew my dues, then maybe you need a different organization. Sorry, like we said, you got to pull that Band-Aid off. So if you're still up against that, then I think you should say, what do you think gives you the right to be here for $15 a year when everybody else is paying an average of $45 to $60? I don't see that you have the right to do that. So that comment came up and everybody says, well, how do I answer it? I think this time we need to answer it 2 ways. Number one, being a member of a chapter is like being a member of the Moose Legion, is an extra level of commitment to the fraternity. Just because you're a chapter member doesn't mean that you can just be a member of the lodge without having to pay your fair share. So I think you're just gonna have to, and if we lose some people for that, well, maybe those aren't the people that you want there, because if they're gonna complain about paying dues to be a member, which you're not gonna get into other places where you have a yearly membership if you don't pay it, they're gonna create a lot of other problems. So that question, let me see what else I got here. And I have to tell you, based on the information that the Grand Chancellor gave us in her address yesterday, that our participation as officers and chairmen at our lodge, association, and district level has doubled since last year. Pretty soon, this is going to be a fraternity of women with a minority of men. So hang on to your chapter, ladies. I mean, we're going to be seeing a 50-50 balance on this. We're already seeing, and it's not a one moose, because we aren't completely equal on it. It's a unification, and finally us stepping into what other organizations are doing and allowing women in. The organizations that succeed are the ones that are inclusive for everyone. Other ones are going by the wayside. We're still here, and we're still looking to make it better. I think on our association level, we stepped out before the One Moose unification. We were one of the first, well, in that second wave of associations that voted to allow women in. So we integrated ours and unified our association before the vote to unify the fraternity. And I believe Robin Gooley, past Deputy Grand Regent from Marshall, was the first, were you the first female association president? I mean, not association, well, maybe you will be. District president? Don't shake your head. District president? Yeah, Robin was. She had to get a dispensation, and they asked her to do it. So we have Jill on the board as treasurer, and we're at district levels. We have a lot. Who are the district presidents and district officers here? And administrators? So, administrative assistants? So and here's the thing, what I don't want you to do is say, okay, the women are there, we're just going to take over. Okay, that attitude is going to get you out the door, because that's not what it's about. It's about making our lodges work. And that means you work together. It's not one is better than the other. We're just going to work on this together. Okay. What do I have on? I had another one, and I think we talked about this, that they can't find the words to tell the chapters why they're needed. First of all, if you want to be a lodge officer, you have to be a member of a chapter. And secondly, again, I said it's an extra layer of commitment to what goes on. So I'm going to read the history of Grand Rapids, unless you want to read it, Donna? Okay, this came, Georgia Beardsley, our past dean of the Academy of Friendship, wrote this up. She said the chapter was born on November 16th, 1916. So you probably want to bet that on the next lottery if you belong to Grand Rapids, Sparta. And it was on Division Street. Now, is that different than where you are now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so until sometime in 1966, when the lodge had troubles and was going to close. So lodges having troubles is nothing new. Chapters having troubles isn't anything new. Some 160 did not want to keep it open, but they had to move. They went looking for a new place out of the city. While they were looking, they saw a farmhouse on Comstock Park for sale, and that became our moose home until 1970. They couldn't build on that spot because there was no place for a parking lot. Then they had a chance to buy the 9-hole golf course with a clubhouse in Sparta, and in 1973 they moved there. And in 1974, the clubhouse burned down. So you're seeing a history for a lodge that from 1903 hasn't had all smooth sailing through here. The chapter had to find a place to have their meetings. The lodge called Moose International and got the okay for the women to use the Beardsley's family room. But they had to rent the Civic Center in Sparta for their special meetings. And in Sparta, they let them have it for half price. Now, a lot of your, if you really need to get involved, most of you are, with your local communities, your villages, your cities. We work with the Beaver Creek Township Fire Department, and every month when they have their meeting, we give them pizzas for their dinner. That's one of our community service. And they come in and do our fire inspections for free. Yeah, we had 2 hours for our meetings. The men would go down the street to Camp Lake Bar. We still have ours in the basement of the lodge. We have around 729 members, and on November 16th, 2024, they'll be 108 years old. And that's something to be proud of. They said we were lucky to have 6 deputy grand regents in that chapter. We have 1 grand regent and 1 Academy of Friendship dean, who was their first deputy in 1949? Or is that when the first deputy was? First deputy was. I didn't see you, Georgia. You just kind of scooshed down. I would have had you come up here and do this. Jeez. The old lodge in Grand Rapids is still standing, and you can see the moose head on it. So I think that's a great story. Now, if they tell people, this is how we've struggled, and did you know that, we were the first lodge in Michigan, and the chapter followed within 8 years, which puts it as probably one of the earliest chapters in Michigan, you might have those members take an interest in it. That basically is orientation, isn't it, Gary?
That's correct.
And for your Premier Lodge Awards, you need orientations. Did anybody else give me anything about a chapter? Who else has some information about their chapter? Barb?
I can tell you that and I'm like the newbie at Houghton.
Stand up.
The Houghton Lake chapter was chartered November 7th. Teresa? November 7th, 1982. She's my backup lady. And we celebrated our 40th anniversary last November. In the original charter, I believe it was, Sherry, was it a year after? Oh, thank you. I have a big voice, but okay. No, I don't. Not really? Okay. Tell Joe that. Sherry, we were a year after the lodge, correct? Okay, so 1981, the lodge was chartered. The building for the original lodge was donated by Shirley Dankert and her husband, whose name escapes me at this moment, which is currently now a Motor Mart used car sales building. And I'm not sure what year we moved into our current building. I think it was before us. Bob Rooker could probably tell us, but he's not here. But Shirley Dankert passed away 2 years ago, I believe, and we had the honor of holding her funeral and memorial service at our lodge for 105 members of her family and friends.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big exciting experience. That, and when we did our 40th anniversary, we were able to drag out of the deep dark cupboards old minutes books and various pieces of memorabilia that just were a lot of fun to look at and to remember some of the things. A lot of our older lodge members remember when the chapter used to do big dinners back when we had a kitchen and hold big events. So there's a lot of memory in there of the women being involved in Houghton Lake. It doesn't always feel that way as we're moving along, but we're growing. We have 346 members currently, and we, like everybody else, struggle to get officers. That's not a horror story, that's just a fact. But anything else, ladies?
You wanna, Julie, you wanna tell them about Taylor? I mean, it's had its ups and downs, lodge and chapter, but
Taylor Lodge was instituted in 1947 and the chapter was in 1948. We started off, the lodge started off in some type of building with dirt floors. And now they have the building on Telegraph Road. It was a small little building and they built onto the back. It had a 250 person hall, 12 acres of land to do whatever we wanted with it. And we struggled, of course, in several years. And with the no building for 8 years, the chapter decided we're still going to do. We hooked up with the VFW. They allowed us to use their hall. And yeah, we were. And then when COVID kind of sort of hit, we hit up our senior regent, and she had a beautiful back porch, so we were outside and social distancing and do what we needed to do. We have 2 deputies currently. I mean, I became deputy when we didn't have a lodge, so apparently something happened there. We had a lovely lady, I believe she was on the college board. Her name was B. Kali. We had a deputy named Linda Long, who was a mentor of a lot. And we just keep together, and we work as a team. And with the lodge officers, with the men officers, we work with them. And that's the one thing that we kept thinking, is that we're going to help them to continue on. And they love us for it. They welcome us on their board, and we try not to overstep our bounds. But we have to work together. That's one thing we found out.
good, thank you. So, how many of you feel like you've got an identity crisis about who you are as either your lodge or your chapter members anymore? Do you feel like something in this unification has changed who you are? Is that an issue for it? I mean, go ahead, this is where we're going to talk about it. It's a workshop. There has to be someone.
I don't know if this pertains exactly correctly, but even some, like, we are all trying to become one, and it is working towards it. But even at the beginning, one of our women here were told that they still weren't allowed to vote at the regular meetings.
Okay, so that is an issue that Gary and
Right.
Jim can address. But if we don't let them know that it's happening, that you're being told either you can't go to the general membership meeting or you can't vote at it, make sure that we as chapter members understand their meetings are structured differently than us. I know one of the problems we had was financial information. We're used to telling our members at every meeting everything that goes on. Am I correct? You don't have to do that at every meeting?
No, once a month.
Once a month they do. So I'm giving Bob the elbow on the ribs. Where's your financial statement? He goes, I don't need it. I said, what are you talking about? It's been, a month since your last meeting. Don't you do this every time you meet? No. So it's us getting to learn how their meetings operate and what they do. And there's confusion with their Board of Officers meeting. Their Board of Officers meeting now takes the place of the House Committee meeting. They will discuss disciplinary matters. We're not going to be getting that information as members, men and women. That's not information that's open to us. So some might think, well, I should be able to go to that meeting. No, if you're not one of the Board of Officers, you don't go to that meeting. So it just feels like in some ways there's an identity crisis. Does anybody else have what they want to talk about with the history of their lodge? And this is everybody, men, women.
Well, the Dalton Lodge was born April 16th, 1978, and the chapter was born December 10th, 1981. So we're 40 years old, but we look pretty damn good.
All the way over here.
No, is she going to come
That's
over?
the fireball. Please, thank you. just before we went on hold, you know, like a sinking ship. A lot of people bailed. We were down to, I think our membership was about 76 at one point. But you get the right people and the right chemistry together, and you grow, and that's what we did. And about 2008, I think it was, we were probably at 100.
70 at 2008, about 70.
About 70 in 2008,
Yep.
170.
Yep.
And we will finish this year at about 334.
Wow.
So we've grown, and we got a good group right here. Thank you.
So I gotta ask the question, and I know it's your meeting, but I gotta ask the question. So what can the lodges and the association do to help you guys, you gals? I've heard one that's very disturbing me, and Jimmy and I will have a conference about the men and women still not being able to work together. We will work together. We will get that fixed.
Well, I had a comment in my admin's class the other day. Somebody came up, one of the students, and said, "Do I get to vote in the meetings?" Sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. If Jimmy and I don't know about it, then we can't fix it. We need to know. Send us an email or whatever, or send, if it's something for the association, send it to Sean or Joe. Because if we don't know how to help. And we want to help. We want and need the chapters.
Gary,
Just like the Blue Legions.
what we're hearing is coaches for the chapters, is the Board of Officers have their meeting, they vote on the applications, they vote on the bills, they do it all over in their Board of Officers meeting, so why do we need to bring it to the membership?
Okay,
Because the membership's
so here's,
supposed to have the voting right for applications, the voting right for bills.
so the applications, they cannot approve it in the Board of Officers minutes. Cannot. That has to be approved by the general membership. The other stuff that you're talking about as far as bills and that in the officers meeting, those officers minutes are supposed to be read at the general membership meeting. And if that's not happening, Jimmy and I both need to know that too. Any business that's conducted in the officers meeting has to be brought back in front of the general membership for approval, other than the executive session, which is the old House Committee, because that's confidential.
Thank
And
you,
that's in a
Mr. Beck.
complete separate set of minutes.
Yeah, and that's where, we're only, second year on this. It's gonna take a while for people to get used to all of this that's going on. We got Monroe here.
I was just gonna give more of a history of our lodge and chapter.
Okay.
So I'm not sure exactly when the lodge was instituted, but our chapter is 53 years old, I do know that. When I joined back in 1977, every Saturday night we had a band in our lodge. We wore long formal dresses.
I know.
We wore the men wore the suit and ties. No hats were allowed in the lodge at any time whatsoever. And one time we went, when my husband and I got involved, he was governor and I was senior regent the same year. So believe me, we lived at the lodge. And our kids were grown up there too. But our chapter is doing well now, and as far as getting along with the men, it's kind of an iffy situation. They don't really, you said respect earlier. We do not feel that we are respected by the lodge officers.
Then that's gonna probably be a sit-down between
Yeah.
your boards and the territory managers, because they are behind us
Right.
on this, 100%.
Well, our lodge started in downtown Monroe in a little bitty building. The VFW was down there, the American Legion, the our Moose Lodge. Then they bought the property on Macomb Street where we're at, and we had lots of acreage around, but they ended up selling most of it around us now. We just haven't. But we're very proud of our lodge, and we all work so hard for it, like all of us do. And we're very happy to be part of the Moose Lodge, believe me.
good, that's great. Now, how many of you, and we all have members that belong to the American Legion, the Eagles, different things. Do you find that they're having the same difficulties? Do you hear that they're having the same difficulties we are? Sometimes we think it's just me, it's just my lodge, my chapter that's having problems. It's really a, nationwide, it's like a cultural problem. And I really think that when we were all isolated during COVID, that it had an impact on us. Most people are social people. I know it was stressful being locked up with Bob for like a year. You have no idea. You have no idea. Although, I will tell you, I was so paranoid to go out after I ended up with COVID that Bob did all the grocery shopping. He does a decent job. He did not learn how to put the dishes away from the dishwasher during COVID. He does better now. And his excuse, well, I don't know where to put them. And I said, well, where did you get them? It's like reverse order here. But he's doing very well. When he doesn't know, he now stacks it on the counter. He will not try to put it away, because then I'll go, where did this go? So, but it starts at home. In our case, because Bob and I have been active together, it makes a difference in our lodge and our chapter. We're walking that same road. We're doing that same trip together. And it's mentoring. Some of you with successful lodges and chapters have people that mentor. Bob would have never got this far if he hadn't had mentors in St. Clair Shores. The same with me when we started. Because we looked at it like, okay, we were both business people, and we said, there is no one going to make me go into that meeting and wear a dress. Sorry, I worked outdoors on construction sites. I was not going to wear a dress to a meeting. I had people that explained the purpose. The purpose outweighed the pantyhose. Now we don't have to worry about those, but it did at the time. And it's someone who's there to say, hey, I missed you. That's the noticing part. I missed you. You haven't been here for a while. Where, what happened? Then, like Gary said, what can we do? What can the women of the Moose, what can I do? I have an awesome team that I'm going to introduce. The past Deputy Grand Regents, if you're in the room, Lorraine Fogelsong, Port Huron, Julie Kronk from Taylor. Is Cecilia here? We have, you guys are split up over here. It's Cecilia Simmons, Port Huron, Sherry's downstairs, Elliot Giggles. I don't know which one she's with now. Donna Miller is not feeling well. Carolyn Michalak is here. Donna Breen, we met her earlier. Melody Daniels, Bertrand. Debbie, is she hiding? Debbie Nutter? No, right here. Oh, okay, I was expecting you to be sitting over there. Yeah, Debbie Waller. Pam Kirby Harrison, she's in the room. Vicki Courtney from Port Huron. Sue Gamash, Three Rivers. And Sue's also the Heart of the Community chairman. Robin Gooley from Marshall, and she's a district president still, or? Yeah. Charlotte Roberts from Monroe. Georgia, who's our keeper of all things historically Moose, along with Mary Dunn, is a past dean of the Academy of Friendship Board. And Mary Dunn is the past president of the College of Regents Board. Now Mary you've got history you can tell us, can't you, Mary, about Lansing and...
Yeah, I do, but,
It's okay.
I prefer not to right now.
Okay, all right. Faith, is she here? Oh, Faith Chapman is a past Grand Council member. So we have some ladies that are here that you can contact. You can contact me if you need help. We'd rather get there when you're struggling, and we have a proposal on the board right now that came from our Grand Council meeting that we can have the mentors do a Zoom meeting with your chapter. Check and see, are your officers in the LCL web? Are you having any difficulties here? How's it going? Just a low-key, check how you're going. So if you're interested in that, chapters, let me know. But we need to know what you want from us. How many of you were in my training session? It was a different approach. What did you think about asking you, what did you need to learn? Instead of me getting that handbook out and reading it from front to back. Merle's got her thumb up. Merle has, really, you have people that have been to so many sessions, they know the difference. But I also had probably half of my class was incoming officers that needed this. So we have to learn to tailor it to your needs. We're at the end of this, unless anybody's got anything else they want to put in right now. Georgia?
We have a lodge chapter in our district that the men would not take officers. The men would not take officers. So they put their chapter on hold, and all the women are now men officers. But then they get these men sitting around, oh, we're getting run by the women. And one of our ladies said, here's my papers, here's my office, you can be an officer. Oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And another thing we have to do, and I know I'm as guilty as some of the others, we've got to quit saying, but we never done that before.
Yes.
You remember when we had so many members coming. So we got to get that out of our heads. And I was one that was against the men and women going together. I will admit it, because I figured I was born to female. I want to work for the women. But I will work for them just the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. And Georgia's right, change is hard. Not all of us were for this. And it's really difficulty. They say it's hard in the beginning, messy in the middle, but easy at the end. Well, I think we're in the messy in the middle part right now. Two things, Chapter Rally Day, which is mandatory if you're going to earn the Award of Achievement. All right, that's October 14th in Saginaw Lodge. And I tentatively have October 6th, 2024 at Soaring Eagle. Now, start raising money for this. We're going to be working on some fundraisers to help defer the cost of your lunch, because I'm figuring lunch is going to be $35 to $40. I'm going for the high end of this. So we're going to work to defray some of the cost of that for you. I'm going to tell you this, if you have chapter members that want to come on and you're raising funds, they better be there helping with those fundraisers if they expect to get paid to go there. So start raising money, and when I know for sure, because I have to work with the association on the contract for the room, but it's going to be on a Sunday. We're going to have lunch in the room. We're going to have fun stuff to do. They're going to hook us up with a local community service program, so I'm going to get with Sue once they give me that, and we'll coordinate with whatever they have, because I figure if we work on their community service, you know, that's going to give us maybe another in to use this. They are going to give us a discount package, but it's not going to be like we have here, and they're also going to set us up with a slots tournament. So part of our chapter rally day is going to be having fun and doing the slots tournament. Okay, tentatively it's Sunday, October 6th, but I haven't signed the contract with them. 2024, not 23. This year, October 14th is in Saginaw Moose Lodge. Okay, so we're gonna do a roll call of our chapters because we don't get to do roll call.
Kathy, one more thing.
What? Kathy?
I just wanted to say, when we're talking about the chapter struggling and with the lodge officers, it is a hard conversation to have, but it needs to be had. So you just have to find a person that's maybe not taking 5 women and approaching and beating up on them. Take a couple of ladies that get along with those lodge officers, bring them in, mingle with them to express your problems. Remember, we're all here for the same purpose, to help each other and to help Mooseheart and Moose Haven. If you can't get along, then figure out how to not get along, but to do your job. So I just want to say
Thanks.
that I think people, you know, they look and say, well, why is it so easy over there? Well, it's because we take and we push through and learn how to accept what is.
Thanks. And it's true. We don't want to gang up on anybody. That's not going to solve any problems at all. Okay. Let's start with the roll call. Ann Arbor, they're on hold right now. Avon Rochester. Okay. Bay City, at 1. Birch Run. Melody.
1,
2. Okay, chocolate is not supposed to put you to sleep.
I know, right?
Brooklyn. Okay, 0. Cadillac. 1. Carroll. 4. 5. Okay. Charlotte. 1. Sheboygan. Jesse's not here. Dearborn Heights. 2. Delton. 5. Door. I got a 0 on that. Fenton. 3. Flushing. 1. 2. Okay. Garden City. 0. Grand Blanc. Okay. Grand Rapids, Sparta. 2. Grayling is 1. Harrison. 1. Holly. Houghton Lake. 3. Ionia. 5. Lapeer.
3.
Lovely ladies. Lowell. Mansalona. 2. Bobby, you can count. 2 plus 1. You know how we did that? Okay, I did 2 plus 1. Manistee. Marshall. 1. Mayo. 2. I knew you were in the room. Monroe. 7. Nice. Niles. Northville. 2. Otsego. 2. Pontiac. She was here yesterday. Port Huron. 9. Redford Township. 1. Okay. Saginaw. 4. Sanford. Okay, 0. Skidway Lake. I got a 0 there. South Haven. South Lyon. 1 plus 1. Our success is 1 plus 1 over there. St. Clair Shores. Did somebody squeak 1? You're not counting. Get out of here. I think that's a $5 fine for pretending. Okay. St. Ignace. 4. That is an awesome one too. St. Louis. 2. Hi, Jimmy. Taylor Township. 9. 3 Rivers. 5. Wayne Westland. Okay, Woodhaven. 3. Wyoming. 7. Ypsilanti. 1. One. Anyone from All Heart Chapter 3000? One. Excellent. And that's another thing. Just simply because your chapter physically closed from the lodge, you're still a woman of the Moose. We'd like to see a transfer into a Michigan chapter, but you still have all the rights and privileges, and if you want to be a guest at a chapter meeting, contact that chapter. Okay. Yeah.
I can say something now.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So if you haven't taken care of your passport yet, make sure you get credit. Greg's over on the other side. He's right there.
Oh, you got that one.
The reason I had to get composed, I was a member of Lansing chapter for 42 years when we had to close it. And it still really hurts right here. So if there's any way possible that you can keep your chapters open, please do it, because it is hard. And I was in All Heart for about 5 years before I transferred into Birch Run chapter. And they make me feel very welcome. That's why I couldn't put right in.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. And it is. I'm going to tell you, the article I wrote for the Moose magazine where I talked about what an awful day I had 2 chapters closed in one day, one right after the other. And I was on my way to the Taylor Star Night. And to see how we used to do things when we celebrated each other, we celebrated being Moose, and it wasn't just the women, it was the lodge members, everybody was there. To have that is just made the day. It made it worthwhile for it. So don't think that when we're closing lodges and chapters it doesn't hurt, that the TMs and that don't take a hit on it. You know, it's hard. You feel defeated. So we had 103 today at a meeting that really, for the women of the Moose, in roll call didn't count, but it does count for you to be here and work on things. And Wilbur's going to get his flying hat, so he's going to get started on his dream of flying. And when my term as Grand Regent is done, Wilbur's going to go to the library at Mooseheart with his book. I've already given them the complete series of books by this author. His name is Kobe Yamada, and he has a series on mentoring. So that whole series of books with their little stuffed guys are going there already. So what I want to leave you with is this. This was on a Christmas card, but it can apply to our chapters and lodges. So I had it set up for chapters, but I'm going to change it to, this is a fraternity, a Moose fraternity. Every time a hand reaches out to help another, that's a Moose fraternity. Every time someone puts conflicts aside and strives for understanding, that's a Moose fraternity. Every time people forget their differences and realize their love for each other, and that includes Mooseheart, Moosehaven, and our communities. That's that's a fraternity. I'd like you to keep those thoughts in your hearts all year long, because I think that's going to help us with this unification process. And we're done on time. Oh, raffle, yeah, you get door prize tickets, but I'm moving you in case you want to take him.
Can we announce the practice for the
Yes.
Are you ready then, Pat?
Yeah, hang on. We have a box of Tommy Mooses that are still unidentified.
Yes. Does anyone know who put them on the Heart of the Community table yesterday during the 3 o'clock session? Because I want to give the correct recognition to that lodge or chapter that donated them, but I don't know who did it.
So if you know that, let Sue know. And when is the...
After the afternoon session today.
Okay, after
in
the
Alt Mule room.
In the Alt Mule room, after the session this afternoon, we're going to have the Academy of Friendship practice.
For the class representatives.
Just the class representatives and those that are in it, not everybody else. Those of you that are getting the degree, if you're not participating in the ceremony, you don't need to be there. Okay.
All right, you guys, we're getting ready for door prizes. If you can holler or raise your hand, we have 4 ladies working the room back here. What are the tickets called, sir? Sorry. All right, first ticket. Last 4 digits, 5012. Right here. Right here. 5214. Okay? 6947. 6895.